Long ago, when the world was still learning its own rhythms, when wisdom had not yet settled in the hearts of men and gods, thunder believed it knew everything. Its name was Kanga, and from his throne on the highest mountain peak, he watched the world turn. Lightning was his scepter, dancing at his fingertips, a testament to his raw and tame power. "No force is greater than mine," his voice would boom, echoing across the valleys. "I shaped this world with fire and might." Down below, in the villages nestled at the foot of the mountain, the people would look up and cheer his name. They celebrated his strength, for he was a protector, a symbol of decisive action. But their cheers were always tinged with fear, for they knew his temper was as quick and as devastating as the lightning he commanded. Kanga ruled with speed and certainty. For him, a moment of hesitation was a moment wasted. He acted first, always, believing his initial impulse was the purest form of justice. Thinking, reflecting that was for lesser beings, for those who did not possess the clarity of a lightning strike. He saw a problem, and he solved it with a crash and a flash, leaving no room for argument or doubt. The world, in his eyes, was a simple place of right and wrong, of strength and weakness, and he was firmly on the side of strength. His solutions were swift, absolute, and often brutal. He saw this not as a flaw, but as the very definition of leadership. Meanwhile, by the serene banks of the great river that wound its way through the land, another power resided. Her name was Yamoya, the mother of waters, whose strength was not in noise but in persistence. She would dip her hands into the cool, clear current, and the water would seem to listen, swirling around her fingers as if in gentle conversation. From her quiet place, she would often look toward the distant, stormy mountain where Kanga held court. "Thunder is loud," she would murmur to the flowing river, "but it does not hear its own echo. It does not hear the silence that follows its rage." Her power was of a different kind. With a graceful gesture, she would guide the river's path, sending its life-giving waters gently toward the villages, nourishing the soil, and ensuring the crops grew tall and strong. Yamoya understood time. She knew that a flood could carve a canyon in a day, but it was the slow, steady current that smoothed the sharpest stones and sustained life for generations. She knew that true, lasting power does not announce itself with a roar, but moves with the patient, inexorable force of a tide. While Kanga sought to command the world through moments of spectacular force, Yamoya nurtured it through endless cycles of quiet, dependable support. Her influence was felt not in moments of terror, but in the daily rhythm of existence: the full grain basket, the clean water, the peaceful flow of community life. She knew that what is built slowly, with care and attention, is what truly endures. One day, a bitter dispute broke out among the people. Accusations flew like stones, and old friendships began to fracture. The argument grew louder and more heated until the fabric of the community itself was at risk of tearing apart. Sensing the discord from his mountain peak, Kanga descended, his face a mask of righteous fury. He did not ask what had happened. He did not listen to the grievances of either side. He saw only chaos, and chaos was an insult to his sense of order. "I will end this now," he roared, his voice the crack of doom. He raised his mighty hand, and lightning answered his call, crashing down again and again upon the village square. The earth trembled and split under the force of his judgment. Dry thatch roofs caught fire, and the flames, fanned by the winds of his rage, spread uncontrollably. What began as an attempt to impose order quickly became an act of pure destruction. Homes that had stood for generations crumbled into ash. People screamed and scattered, running not from each other, but from their supposed protector. The dispute was forgotten, replaced by a much greater terror. Justice without patience had become devastation. From her place by the river, Yamoya watched the smoke curl into the sky, and her eyes filled with a deep, profound sorrow for the people and for the god who did not understand the consequences of his own power. With a heavy heart, Yamoya knew she could not stand by. She walked from the riverbank, her steps calm but resolute. As she approached the burning village, she lifted her arms, not in anger, but in a gesture of profound command. The great river heard her call. It began to swell, its waters rising, not in a violent, destructive flood, but with a firm, steady pressure. The river flowed into the village, a cool, determined tide that moved with purpose. It surged over the cracking earth, quenching the fires, silencing the roar of the flames with a gentle hiss. The water flowed through the ruins, washing away the ash and soot, leaving behind a clean, sorrowful silence. When the last ember was extinguished, she stood in the center of the devastation, directly before a stunned Kanga. "Strength that refuses to listen," she said, her voice as clear and steady as the river she commanded, "will eventually find itself standing alone." Her words were not an accusation, but a simple, unassailable truth. Enraged and humiliated, Kanga raised his thunder axe, the symbol of his power, ready to strike her down for her insolence. But then, for the first time in his memory, he hesitated. The air, once filled with his thunderous rage, was utterly silent. And in that silence, he finally heard something else. He saw the people, his people, moving through the wreckage. They weren't cheering for him. They weren't cowering in fear. They were quietly tending to each other's wounds, pulling loved ones from the rubble, and beginning the slow, arduous task of rebuilding their lives, all with Yamoya's quiet, steady presence among them. They offered her no loud praise, but they gave her something far more valuable, their trust. A feeling Kanga had never known washed over him. It was not anger, not pride, but a hollowing sense of shame. He looked at his axe, then at the destruction he had wrought, and finally at the quiet resilience of his people. His broad shoulders, which had always been held high with pride, began to lower. The fire in his eyes dimmed. In a voice barely above a whisper, a voice so soft it was almost lost in the breeze, he spoke. "I ruled the sky," he admitted, "but I forgot the ground beneath it." Yamoya simply nodded, her expression one of understanding, not triumph. "True power is not proven by how loud you are," she said gently, "but by how many lives you are able to protect and nurture." From that day forward, something in the world shifted. The sky cleared, and when the thunder rumbled again, it was different. It was a gentle, controlled sound, a reminder of power held in reserve, not power unleashed recklessly. Kanga had learned to pause, to listen before he acted. And the river, as it always had, continued to flow steadily, patiently, its quiet strength continuing to teach the world the profound and enduring lesson of how to heal, how to grow, and how to endure. The story of Kanga and Yamoya became a lesson passed down through generations, a timeless reminder that true, lasting power is found not in the storm, but in the calm that follows. It is the strength that rebuilds, the wisdom that listens, and the leadership that protects. And that strength without wisdom, no matter how great, will always end up breaking the very things it tries to fix.